News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on Blip TV and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments. Whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I remind you to go early and often, just like voting in Chicago, to reportergary.com. Reportergary.com. That's the news site where the Pal Talk News Network resides, where you will see stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. For those of you who may have been on the dark side of the moon, or maybe this story didn't make it outside of the United States, there's a fellow named Ted Williams. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I guess he had a substance abuse problem and lost his job and ended up homeless, and somehow found his way to Columbus, Ohio. And he, as many homeless people do, stationed himself at the end of an exit ramp from the interstate, and he was holding up a sign, we'll talk or something for $1, because he has this radio voice that resonates. He's like the voice of God when you hear him. And some guy stopped to give him $1, and which he said that when you're in those circumstances, $1 is like $25. It's like manna from heaven. And when he heard the guy's voice, he said, I got to do a story on him. It turns out that he was a reporter for the local newspaper. So he came back a day or two later with a camera, a video camera, to record an interview with him. He says, I'll give you $4 if you let me interview you. And, well, yeah, you know, all I have to do is talk. He says, I'll take the $4. That would be like $100 to him. And the thing was posted. Well, he doesn't have a laptop or internet access. He has no idea what's going on. And it became this big thing. And one of the local radio shows, which is syndicated nationally here in the United States, they decided they were going to bring him on the show. So they're trying to track him down, and CNN was there and somebody finally found him and got him on the show. And yesterday he was on one of the late night shows announcing all of the guests, and he was just terrific. And today he was at the Today Show, and he's got all these job offers, and I guess I hadn't heard that Oprah Winfrey had offered him a job. So, you know, there you go. It happens occasionally. That's a real positive story, and I'm happy to hear it. Jim in Michigan. Jim, welcome to News Talk Online on the Pal Talk News Network.
Well, thank you, Gary. It's always a pleasure to have the privilege to be on your program and talk about various and sundry ideas. I do agree that the most important part to improve America is the solidarity, that we work together and get things going right for employment. That is very, very important. It is just equally as important as what our soldiers are doing for us to give us a free America, to give us the choices that we do have. It's an amazing country, like the gentleman who was living as a hobo in a tent turns around and would be maybe the national announcer for the OWN network, Oprah's own Winfrey's network. And that truly was an amazing story. I think our new governor, Snyder, is acting quickly and promptly to organize and create more jobs, and his ability and background working with the computer industry will prove that it was a wise vote by the people of Michigan.
Yeah, see, so there's some happy news for my friend Linda in Sweden. Thank you, Jim. And Tareen in Pakistan. Tareen, welcome to News Talk Online on the Pal Talk News Network.
Hello, my brother and my old friends. Brother, you know the story entirely that the governor was shot down by Malik Mumtaz Qadri. He was his bodyguard. Now the things have started just in another direction. The lawyers, known as the custodians of law, they are on the streets in the favor of Qadri, that nothing should happen to him, although he has killed a man and also a high official known as a governor. Now, who is to be blamed? Who is pushing up these lawyers on the street? This is something really strange.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that the bodyguard is not being charged who shot the governor of Punjab province?
Yes, sir. People are out in the street.
How can, Tareen, how can the government sustain itself with this kind of corruption going on? I mean, this is pretty freaking blatant. I mean, if the government was behind the killing of the governor because he spoke out against the stoning to death of the Christian woman for expressing her love for Jesus Christ as blasphemous, okay, and they ordered this guy to turn on him, why didn't they just make him a sacrificial lamb, you know, and convict him? Because this is pretty obvious what's going on here. And I'll tell you what, this could be, and tell me if you agree with me, Tareen, a seminal moment in the history of Pakistan. This could change things forever because the populace is not standing for it.
I totally agree with you, my brother. But the thing, I'm just surprised that he was just silent till the money was offered. And the man who offered the money, he was arrested, but the people came out in the street and they had to release him. And for Mr. Qadri, the lawyers are in the streets that nothing should be done to him. Now, what is this going on? Where goes the law?
Yeah, where goes the law? But listen, Tareen, before we in the United States get too sanctimonious about this, let's talk a little bit, and thank you for the call, about these two women who have been guests of a prison in Mississippi for, I think, 18 years now, until one developed a kidney failure and got a perfect match from her sister. They're 2 years apart. And Governor Haley Barbour commuted their sentence under the condition that the one would donate the kidney to the other on a humanitarian basis, which has got the medical ethicists all in a tizzy, that you would dare barter with a prisoner to give up their kidney. This wasn't a prisoner, you stupid medical ethicists. This was her sister. But here's the point. 18 years ago, or something like that, when they were teenagers, they were convicted for enticing two men to an ambush where two other men robbed those two men of $11. $11. The two guys who actually held up the two men for the $11 served their time and were released. These two women, who happen to be African American in the state of Mississippi, which is probably still the most backward state with regard to race relations in the United States today, even still, were sentenced each to life. To life! My next caller is Len. Welcome to News Talk Online on the Pal Talk News Network.
Hello, Gary. I'm back with you once more. A couple of topics I'm going to touch on here. For one, okay, we're talking about one report that I had seen just here recently that was broadcasted on the news that, you know, going back to this situation with Obama, the governor of Hawaii was told by the government to keep his mouth shut and not make any comments whatsoever in regards to Obama.
Really? Can you source that for me?
That was actually on CNN. That was on CNN.
Well, I missed that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, because they had interviewed the governor of Hawaii, and he was told to keep his mouth shut.
Who orders the governor of Hawaii to keep his mouth shut?
It had to have been people from higher up in the government that basically.
There's nobody higher up in the government. He heads the government in Hawaii. Who's higher up in the government than the governor of Hawaii?
No, this had to have come from the boys in Washington.
No, Lynn. I know there's a conspiracy under every rock and every starfish on the sea, from the sea on the beach at Waikiki. But in reality, what that was all about was the president and his wife and his 2 girls went to Hawaii on vacation. And they didn't want the reporters following them around. They wanted private time. And they asked as a courtesy that nobody from the state government reveal the details of what they were doing when they were having private family time. Now, how you extrapolate from that shows you that they lied about his birth certificate is beyond me. You're right there with the people in the Arab world who believe that the shark attack off the Sinai was the work of the Mossad, if you believe that. You're a little bit gullible, Lynn, if I may be so bold as to suggest. By the way, the Republican head of the public health department in Hawaii, the Republican, says that the birth certificate is authentic and shows that he was born there. Ralph, Eric, stick around for the aftermath. You will be heard, I pledge to you. I'll be back at 5 o'clock New York time on Monday for another edition of News Talk Online on the Pal Talk News Network. Until then, peace out.